Hello plant friends, welcome back. My name is Jimmy. I'm a doctor and tropical plant hobbyist here in LA, and this channel is about plants. We are in for a treat, guys. I recently reached out to some other plant YouTubers and I asked them to, send me a clip of their most overrated and most underrated plant. So I'm going to split this into 2 episodes because there were a lot of YouTubers who, contributed, and the videos were just getting too long for it to be in one episode. So in this episode, we'll be talking about underrated plants. So if you guys have been in the hobby or starting your plant journey, one of the best ways to save money on plants is getting them before the hype comes in, right? Before they trend in popularity and in price. So, figuring out what are the underrated plants at the moment is a really, really good strategy to, buy plants on the cheaper side. So here are quite a few YouTubers and quite a few underrated plants. Hope you guys enjoy.
Hello everyone, my name is Madeline and I am an Australian plant YouTuber. My YouTube channel is called Ants in My Plants, and I'm here today to share with you what I consider would be an underrated plant and what would be an overrated plant. It's going to vary depending where you are in the world, because obviously some plants that are here in Australia are obviously going to be a lot more popular than something overseas. So I'm just going to share with you guys what I would consider would be a plant that is underrated or overrated here in Australia. So I'm going to start with a plant that I find to be very underrated, especially here in Australia. Now I have 2 different types of this plant, so I'll go and grab it now and I'll show you guys what it is. Ow, bitch. So these 2 plants that I have here, I definitely find to be very underrated. I actually ordered one of these online, and the other one I bought from a lady who grows them in her garden locally. And I don't seem to ever come across them in nurseries or any plant stores. So this one here you've probably seen in my intro video, but this is a Milky Way cast iron, and it's got these beautiful speckling patterns on the leaves. So this one here is the variegated cast iron. So you can see here on this leaf that it's got a really beautiful strip of white down the side. It's also got 2 new leaves that have popped through recently, and you can see here that the new leaves have the variegation on it, but it comes through as like this lime green color when it's newer. After time they end up going this beautiful creamy white color. My neighbor's outside watching me. He's probably thinking, look at this lady in her house talking to her plants. I'm not crazy. So the reason I find these guys to be really underrated is obviously, as I mentioned before, you're a lot less likely to come across them in nurseries and plant stores. The only time I've ever seen these plants is maybe at like a local market, but other than that I never see them in the big box stores, and I never see them in like your plant shop. And also the fact that they're actually really easy to keep. I mean, I hardly ever give these guys water and they don't get a whole heap of light. And I know that the cast iron plant is obviously very well known for being a super hardy plant, so it definitely lives up to that reputation. I would consider it to be a little bit of a slower growing plant, but that's probably because I'm not offering them a ton of light. So if you were to have it somewhere with a lot of light, I'd say you'd probably get faster growth. But since owning both of them, I think this guy's given me about 3 new leaves, and this one is actually currently putting out a new leaf just there. So really easy plant to keep. They're really beautiful. They're nice and lush. They've got these beautiful long leaves. Like the longest leaf you can see here compared to my head is pretty big. All right, so that is my opinion on an underrated plant. And I think that everyone needs to have one in their home because they're easy to care for, they're beautiful, they're inexpensive, so that's a plus. I think I bought this one maybe for $20, and that was including shipping. And this one I picked up for $8. And they just make a beautiful statement piece in any home as well. So I definitely recommend, if you don't already, to get yourself a cast iron plant because they're just great. They're just great. Love them. So those are 2 plants that I would consider to be underrated, and I would like to thank Jimmy for including me in yet another episode on his channel. And if you want to check out my YouTube channel, it's just Ants in My Plants, or you can also go follow me over on Instagram. It's just at @antsinmyplants_. And I hope that you guys enjoy the rest of Jimmy's episode. Bye. High five. Yeah.
Hey guys, it's Allie from Allie's Plants, and I'm here today to share with you my pick for the most underrated plant. And this is totally subject to opinion, obviously, but this is a good one. And a big one, Cissus rhombifolia. I'm going to show you what it looks like growing in its native habitat in my bathroom. Why I think this one is underrated is I just don't see it a lot. I've been hearing more and more about Cissus lately, but not this one. And I really, really like it. I got it as a cutting from a coworker, and I did not expect it to be such a prolific grower. You can see that there are some little things that attach to the pole and they attach to each other to climb. And it's just so tall, very, very pretty. It reminds me of something that you would see like growing natively in Pennsylvania where I live. It just makes it so much nicer when it looks like you can just pluck it out of the ground. And it is related to the grape family. They call it grape ivy. It's just such a beautiful plant. I wish more people talked about it because it's a very prolific grower, and I just really, really love this. Very underrated. You should pick one up if you can find one. If you want a climbing plant that's just gonna climb and grow and grow and grow and grow, this is for you. Please make sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel, Allie's Plants, or follow me on Instagram, which is also Allie's Plants. I'll be putting it here on the screen for you guys. Have a good day.
Hi guys, what's up? My name is Sam and I have a plant channel here on YouTube. It's called Sassy Succulent. Jimmy was kind enough to include me on this awesome planty collaboration. So in this clip, I will be sharing with you a plant from my collection that I feel is highly underrated in the houseplant community, and that plant is going to be this big guy right here, and this is a Fatsia japonica. I think this plant is absolutely stunning. It has these large glossy leaves that almost remind you of a maple leaf. Growing this plant in my home definitely gives me very nature-like vibes. In my opinion, it's very much like bringing nature inside your home. I appreciate that very much. These plants can actually get pretty large. This would make a beautiful floor plant. Obviously mine's not super big yet, but he does have some pretty impressive leaves going on already. I don't hear this plant talked about a whole lot in the houseplant community, and I'm just not sure why. Aside from how beautiful this plant is, I feel it is underrated because it is pretty easy care in my experience. Granted, these plants do like quite a bit of light, not direct sun, but they like some more bright indirect light. I let my plant dry out completely in between waterings, and a cool thing about this guy is he will actually let you know whenever he's thirsty. So the leaves on this plant will actually wilt whenever it's time to water, almost like a peace lily. And that's a pretty good indication that it's time to give this guy a drink. I haven't noticed any pests on this plant so far. I would say that spider mites would probably be the main one that you might have to look out for when it comes to this guy. But I clean his leaves pretty regularly with neem oil, and not only does that shine the leaves, but it also is a good pest prevention. So those are just a few of the reasons why I feel this plant is an underrated one for sure. I would definitely like to see more people talking about this plant and growing it in their homes. It's just a really gorgeous, gorgeous plant, and I truly love mine, and I would definitely 10 out of 10 recommend if you can get your hands on one, definitely do it. They are a joy to grow, and what's not to love about this guy, hey? So if you guys would like to see the plants that I currently have growing in my home, in my collection, feel free to go ahead and head over to my channel and let's be friends. I'd like to say a big thank you to Jimmy for including me in this planty collaboration. I'm so happy to be a part of it, and I truly appreciate it.
Hey guys, I'm Nicole from My Clean Leaves, and today I'm going to tell you about my most underrated houseplants. And if you guys have been to my channel before, you know that I am a cacti loving channel. So what better than to talk about today than cacti? Let's do it. The most underrated cacti, in my opinion, is Little Miss Prickly Pear herself. Yes, she is very underrated. A lot of people talk about the prickly pear or the opuntia in a desert landscape scenario where it grows wild in the desert, and it does. And that's why I feel like it gets this underrated feeling to it. These grow so fast. As you can see, my squirrel in my backyard kind of got a nip out of one of them, and I took these off of that plant that was pretty trashed, and I literally just stuck them in soil, cactus soil, and it's starting to grow, and it's the middle of the winter here in Chicago, which is where I'm from, and it's starting to grow little babies already. Like, seriously, that's crazy to me. It's just so easy to grow, and I think that they're beautiful. They can grow huge in the wild, and they can grow huge in pots as well, and they are faster growers than most types of cacti. So I just love the prickly pear. Guys, if you want to check out my channel, again, I'm Nicole from My Clean Leaves, and I hope to see you there. Thanks, Jimmy, for letting me jump on your video, and I'll see you guys later. Bye.
All right, I'm back to talk about what I think is the most underrated houseplant. To me, it is the very structural, the very 70s, the very cool Jade plant. This one, my very favorite plant, my little Jade. I got this in the fall of 18. It started as a cutting this big, and now it's this. This guy and this guy are little cuttings I just recently put in. Ignore them. But look, it's got this big woody stem and all of these big offshoots. It grows fast. It's like a dinosaur. It's cool. This other one I got also fall of 18. My weirdest plant. Also very like tipsy. Look, it's curls. Look. And I have like rotated the heck out of this thing trying to straighten it out, but it doesn't. Yeah, it was a rescue. When I got it, it was just this long stem with like pieces this long sticking off of it. And I love it. It makes me giggle. It's weird and wonky. And this is my impression of a jade plant. Yeah. So, there you have it. My most underrated plant. The jade. I'd love to have a big bushy one, but really, they're just weird. Like me. So, there you have it. We say, have a plantastic day. Bye. Poppy's way over there. He says, whoa.
Hey friends, my name is Ashley. I have been asked by Jimmy to come up with a plant I think is most underrated. I do have a small YouTube channel. I opened it up around 2 months ago, and we just kind of talk about plants and plant stuff and plants. And if you're interested in plants, maybe you could hop on over. So yeah, let's get into it. My most underrated plant. Go. Okay, so the most underrated plant, in my humble opinion, is any philodendron, but especially Philodendron Brazils. This plant, well, mine is like, I feel like a showstopper, but even if you buy a small Philodendron Brazil, like, what? Literally, their hearts jumping out at you. Like, can you feel the love? Because I can feel the love. And variegation, like if you want variegation, all you need to do is grab you one of these babies. I just love this plant. I love you, plant. I love this plant so much. I think that everyone should have one in their collection. So this plant is my favorite. Oh, hubby just walked in the room. Babe, come here. Come here, babe. Do impossible. Babe, what do you think about this plant?
Told you to stop buying plants.
Let me ask something else. Chico, come here, Chico. Come here, Chico. Chico, chocolate. Chico, what do you think about that plant? What do you think about that plant?
Chico's a punk.
Hello guys, it's me, Ellen from The Winding Leaf, and my lovely cat Pedro decided to join me after he just went to his litter box and made number 2, and the whole house is like, oh my god. And then when he does that, then after that he runs like a crazy person through the whole house, like stung by a Tarantel, as you say in Germany, as you say in German, wie von der Tarantel gestochen, to flee this, like, you know, smell. And now he's exhausted and sleeps next to me. Anyway, enough small talk. We are here to talk about the most over and underrated plants, and this is what I'm going to do. I'm starting with a positive note, so the most underrated plant, and I choose this one. This is a kangaroo paw fern, and look at the fabulous big specimen. And every time I do a kangaroo, and not a kangaroo, I do a fern video, nobody's watching it on my channel, so that's why I thought that's a good indicator for an underrated plant, or even a plant species. So this is a fern, as you can see. As I said, ferns need a lot of water, and luckily this one is in a hanging basket, and I just grab it like so. Every 2 days, take it to my shower and give it a nice douche. Yeah, and then there is no dirt on the leaves, there's enough humidity on the leaves, or moisture, and also the soil gets nice and wet. In this container, I believe there's not so much soil, will be mostly roots, and you can see here those aerial roots and those, like, you know, creatures coming out. So that's why also it needs a lot of water every 2 days, because there is not enough soil in this pot to retain enough moisture and humidity. But also it's very complicated to repot, so I'm not going to bother. Just leave it like this, hang it in the corner, and all is good. Ferns like this need lots of indirect, not direct, indirect sunlight, like all of your plants. So, but you can, as I said, hang this from the ceiling, so it doesn't take up any very valuable space on your windowsill or stuff like that. So, my plant tip: kangaroo paw fern.
Well, hello, Legends of Monstera viewers. My name is Rachel, and I have a channel called HeartShaped Leaves, and Jimmy was kind enough to ask me what my most overrated and underrated plants are. So I'm going to start out by telling you about this Philodendron fibrosum, because I think it is one of the most underrated philodendrons that there are out on the market today. They're very hard to find, but you don't hear people talking about them much. I would highly recommend, if you see one on the market, that you pick it up. This plant not only has the most gorgeous heart-shaped leaves, it has like a soft leather saddle type texture, and the stems are hairy, and I mean hairy. The new stems coming out have a different texture of hair than the existing stems, and it's always super fun to watch the leaves come out. So this is my most underrated plant. I've had it growing in my collection for quite some time. It is absolutely gorgeous, and I don't think I've seen a whole lot more of them. Philodendron fibrosum, definitely an underrated plant.
Nikki from Plants, Pots, and Whatnot's back again. Now, this time I am going to tell you about a plant that I think is the most underrated plant. At least the most underrated plant that I own. Now, everybody loves a good Hoya, but I feel like there's one Hoya in particular that people are just like, oh, that's just that. That's not a big deal. It's still a big deal. It's gorgeous. Okay, so my most underrated plant is the plain old Hoya carnosa. There is nothing like these beautiful shiny leaves with this gorgeous speckling, and I absolutely love it. I actually think that this particular Canosa is a Hoya Canosa Splash. So again, it's not one that people are like, oh my god, I need that, I need to go buy it, oh my god, they're on sale. It's so... I get it. But I love this plant. It is gorgeous. It is shiny. It grows like crazy. It's very rewarding. And yeah, I just like me a good Hoya Canosa. What can I tell you? Anyways, I want to say thank you so much to Jimmy for having me on and getting to meet all of you. So thank you so much for listening to me ramble on about my most overrated and underrated plants. Have a great day, night, week, month, year. Back to you, Jimmy.
Hey houseplanters on Jimmy's channel. I am Marina. I am from the YouTube channel Millennial Planter, where I talk about all things houseplant related. So when Jimmy asked me the question of what the most underrated plant is, I thought of this plant instantly, and it's the little adorable Peperomia Ruby Cascade. I mean, just look at this beauty. It has a piece of my hair on it. It has red stems and red backs and green tops. Probably the only thing with red backs that I can afford. And it grows like crazy, and Peperomias are getting their shine right now. But nobody talks about the Ruby Cascade, and I'm kind of salty about it. These guys are just so easygoing. They're Peperomia, so they don't like too much water. They have really fragile roots, and even with it being in the 20s, he doesn't care, and he's just putting out so much growth. And basically, if you don't have one, I really suggest you finding one and getting it, because it is worth being in your collection, and you're just gonna love it. I mean, they look like little lily pads. They're just the cutest little thing. That is my most underrated plant. I bet you would have never thought about it because nobody ever thinks about them. Thank you, Jimmy, for putting together this awesome collaboration, and I hope to see you all on my channel. Bye!
So when it came to finding my most underrated houseplant, I had a hard time choosing. But I've decided to show you my Jaributus sandersoni. It's a very unique plant, and I haven't seen it in many wish lists, which makes me kind of sad because it's an amazing plant. It's obviously not in bloom right now because it's winter. It can actually tolerate light frost, so I'm keeping it outdoors, and so far it's looking okay. It's looking a bit tired, but... Jaributus sandersoni is an evergreen perennial, a slender twiner with sparse leaves. It belongs in the Apocynaceae family and is native to Mozambique, South Africa, and Swaziland. It is hardy in zones 10 to 11b. In fact, it can tolerate short periods of frost, -5 degrees Celsius or 23 degrees Fahrenheit. It can grow up to 3 meters or 10 feet tall, and it needs average amounts of humidity, 40 to 60%. Make sure the soil is light and well aerated. As for the fertilizer, just use regular fertilizing during the growing season. It's not drought tolerant. It naturally climbs among bushes, which provide shade and humidity to the base of the plant, while the leaves and flowers are in a lighter position. It's really easy to propagate as well. It blooms in summer and fall from April through November. It has also won an Arches Award of Garden Merit. Now, this plant has a very unique pollination technique. The flowers of Jaributus sandersoni are myophilous, which it actually means fly-friendly. In reality, it's a pitfall trap for fly pollinators. The flowers release a smell similar to the pheromones of bees in distress, which are used to warn the rest of the bees. The carnivorous fly pollinators are getting tricked by the smell, hoping for an easy and good meal. So they get trapped into the corolla tube. The small hairs of the flower, which are pointing downwards, prevent the insects from escaping. The trapped fly gets covered in pollen once it gets into the corolla, and it's released only when the flower reaches the end of its life and the hairs weaken a couple of days later. It's so interesting and so unique. and you know how much I love this kind of plants. As for the etymology, Cheropegia or Cheropegia, depending on which Latin pronunciation you will choose, I choose to go with Ecclesiastical Latin, which is also the modern Italian one. So the word Cheropegia comes from the Greek words keri, which means wax or candle, and the verb pignimi, which means to stake, to congeal, or to fasten. It's not really used in modern Greek. As for the kiropigio, it's a word used in modern Greek and it means candle holder. It probably refers to the waxy texture of the leaves or the flowers. As for the specific epithet, Sandersoni, it's in honor of John Sanderson, a Scottish trader, politician, artist, and plant collector. John Sanderson was born in Glasgow in 1820, and he worked as a journalist in Scotland. In his 30s, he immigrated to Natal in Brazil. After a failed business venture with his brother, he became a secretary and regular contributor to the Natal Times Company. Soon after, he embarked on a trading and plant collecting trip to South Africa. Upon his return, he published a memoir and a collection of notes and sketches inspired by that trip. He then became an active politician in Natal from 1855 until his death. In 1876, he became the co-owner of the Natal Colonist and Herald, and in 1878, he was the sole owner of the newspaper, often expressing radical views in his articles, until the newspaper was founded in 1880 due to lack of support. Sanderson's main scientific interest was in botany, serving as a member in various agricultural and horticultural societies and committees, while he supplied the Royal Botanical Gardens at Kew with seeds, bulbs, and dried plants for more than 30 years. Around the 1860s to the 1870s, he sent at least 80 different species of orchids to Kew Gardens and became the colony's resident expert on this group. Sanderson was also an artist, and his large collection of sketches and cartoons can be found in various museums, including the Kew Gardens. Quite a few plants were named after him, as well as the genus Sandersonia. He died in 1881. Cheropegia can be easily mistaken for a Hoya when it's not in bloom, and this is how I got my second Cheropegia. When I visited a nursery and asked the owner whether they had a Hoya, he did have a Hoya potted within a Dracena plant, the one you see here. And as soon as I saw this plant, I realized it was a Cheropegia, so I got it. I got it for €5. It was a great deal. And here's my second parachute or balloon plant. It has been growing nicely, and as you can see, it has been reaching for the light. It has heart-shaped leaves, a bit textured, so it's been growing in my Dracena plant ever since. I do hope you'd be interested in finding this plant, and if you already have it, let me know how much you like it or not.
If any of these YouTubers spoke out to you, or you like their plants or their vibe, definitely check out their channel. I'll put a link to all their channels in the description below. It's hard doing YouTube, and I know that a lot of these YouTubers are doing it mostly as a hobby. They have family, they have lives, they have other jobs. So it's a lot of work for very little pay or reward. Trust me, I know. And it's hard, especially as an up-and-coming YouTuber trying to get more views and more subscribers and more support. So, hope you guys enjoyed some of their channels or some of their clips, and you guys can check out their channel and see if their content speaks to you. And if you like this channel, please like, subscribe, comment. It helps me out a lot too, guys. So, till next time, happy planting.